Bayonetta is an iconic character, with her glasses, dual pistols, high heels, and hair that transforms into a deadly weapon. While most of us would recognize Bayonetta among all other witches, what do we really know about her? I'm Keegan, and today we'll go over the story of the Bayonetta trilogy. Get cozy, cause this timeline is not a walk in the park. It's filled with battles between heaven and hell, bad guys who aren't so bad after all, world-ending threats, multiverses, and a little bit of love to make the world a better place before a new villain wants to destroy it all once again. The story of Bayonetta begins long before the events of the first game. At the beginning of time, only three forces existed: light, darkness, and chaos. Following an unequal balance between light and darkness, an ancient event known as the First Armageddon caused the destruction of the universe, and the creation of a new one centered around the Trinity of Realities. In this new universe, three realms ensure the balance between light, darkness, and chaos. Our first realm, Paradiso, is home to the angels and the forces of light. Inferno is the realm of darkness and houses the infernal demons ruled by demonic Queen Sheba. Between those two realms is the human world, also known as the realm of chaos. After watching the humans for centuries, Aesir, the god of chaos, pitied their naivete and their lack of free will. He created the eyes of the world, dividing his powers into the right eye of light and the left eye of darkness. The right eye of light oversaw the light and granted control over Paradiso, while the left eye of darkness controlled forces of the darkness and their realm of Inferno. These eyes were so powerful that they could change the entire reality of all realms, threatening their balance if they ever merged back together. The power of the eyes of Aesir gave humans free will, allowing them to choose their destinies. Two powerful clans emerged in Europe: Lumen Sages, followers of the light, and Umbra Witches, their darker counterparts. The Lumen Sages received the right eye of light, while the Umbra Witches took over the left eye of darkness, which guaranteed that the balance between light and darkness remained intact. The two clans drew their power from equal yet opposite forces, respecting each other and living in peace for hundreds of years. To maintain that peace, the Lumen Sages and Umbra Witches had one sacred rule: to never date someone from the other clan. They followed an ancient prophecy that stated that the intersection of light and dark would bring calamity to this earth, and so they stayed apart to avoid bringing the end of times. Until, of course, someone broke that law. A Lumen Sage named Balder and an Umbra Witch named Rosa fell in love and conceived a child, breaking the balance between the two clans. This caused the beginning of the Clan Wars, plunging all of Europe into a violent war between two enemies drawing their powers from Paradiso and Inferno, respectively the equivalent of Paradise and Hell. The Umbra Witches eventually became victorious over the Lumen Sages and ruled over Europe. Only one Lumen Sage survived: Balder, the one that caused this entire mess in the first place. Despite winning the clan wars, the Umbra Witches weren't at peace for long. The human population didn't trust them and feared their dark powers. The witch hunts began, leading to the extermination of most Umbra Witches. The first Bayonetta game, released in 2009, takes place about 500 years after these events. A journalist named Antonio researches the legends surrounding the Lumen Sages and Umbra Witches, and he eventually manages to track down a mysterious coffin sealed at the bottom of a lake. Inside this coffin is Bayonetta, who emerges from centuries of slumber. As she awakens, Antonio is attacked by a mysterious force, tearing him to pieces in front of his son Luca. Bayonetta lives the next 20 years without any memories of her past, but with a mysterious jewel in her possession. During her adventures, she meets an underground informant named Enzo and a demonic arms dealer called Rodin that also works as a bartender in a bar called the Gates of Hell. One day, Enzo tells Bayonetta that he heard rumors about a jewel called the Right Eye being sold in the city of Vigrid. The jewel is similar to the one Bayonetta carries around her neck, so she decides to head to this city with Enzo to find out more. Bayonetta and Enzo fight a bunch of angels and run into an Umbra witch named Jeanne. The two witches fight briefly before Jeanne leaves without saying a word. This witch seems to have ties with the angels, but Bayonetta doesn't know much more. She lost all her memories, remember? Bayonetta and Enzo finally make it to Vigrid, only to face countless soldiers in the service of Paradiso. The duo fights its way through the city, facing Jeanne a few more times. Her face is similar to Bayonetta, who can't remember where she met her. After slaying a bunch of enemies, Bayonetta meets Luca, the young boy who saw his dad get ripped apart after finding Bayonetta's coffin 20 years ago. He's now a grown-up and firmly believes the witch to be responsible for his father's death. Luca stalks the witch and hopes to find evidence that she is a murderer and bring her to justice. Shortly after her encounter with Luca, Bayonetta meets a young girl named Cereza who looks suspiciously like the titular witch herself. herself. Bayonetta saves the girl from a group of angels attacking her, and Cereza begins to follow the witch around, calling her mummy. Bayonetta teaches the girl how to be strong, with Cereza growing more confident over time and mimicking Bayonetta's stances. Bayonetta crosses paths with Jean once again, and the two witches decide to fight once and for all. Bayonetta manages to defeat Jean, who reveals that they both are the only remaining Umbra witches left after the witch hunts that happened centuries ago. She also tells Bayonetta that there is only one Lumen Sage left, named Balder. And last but not least, Jean reveals the story of Bayonetta. She is the child born from the illegal union between a Lumen Sage and an Umbra witch, and was the reason for the clan wars that plunged the world into chaos and caused the end of both clans. Jean was Bayonetta's best friend hundreds of years ago, but as the angels of Paradiso attacked the Umbra witches, she used a special dagger to impale Bayonetta and seal her away, along with her memories. She did so to protect the left eye, as the Lumen Sages wanted to merge it back with the right eye to rule over all realms. Right before seemingly dying from an explosion, Jean reveals Bayonetta's real name, Cereza. Yes, like the little girl. More on that later. After Jean's death, Bayonetta resumes her journey toward the Ithavoll building, where she hopes to find the right eye. When she finally comes to the top of this massive tower, she comes face to face with the last surviving Lumen Sage, Balder. In a classic villain monologue, he explains that he is her father, and that he was the one behind her entire journey. He implemented her need to find the right eye only for her to bring the left eye right to his hands. Oh, and the left eye isn't Bayonetta's jewel, it's the witch herself. Remember Cereza, the young girl who believes Bayonetta is her mother? It turns out that she's a younger version of Bayonetta herself, whom Balder kidnapped from her timeline to make her meet with Bayonetta. He wanted the witch to protect and raise the little girl so that she could get her memories back and awaken the left eye. Balder wants to take control of both the eyes of the world and enact his plan of reviving Jubileus the Creator, a powerful entity sealed away at the end of the first Armageddon. Balder is also the one responsible for the death of Luca's father, but that's a detail that's kinda small compared to the fact that he wants to destroy the entire universe. Bayonetta manages to defeat her father and stop his evil plans. She takes Cereza back to her own timeline, gifting the young girl an Umbran watch to help protect her. But messing up timelines is rarely a good idea, and this chain of events results in the creation of a new alternate universe. In this alternate reality, Jean's stab that should have sealed Cereza away for centuries was stopped by Bayonetta's watch, and Cereza fought alongside Jean to repel the assaults of the angels of Paradiso. This change allowed her to awaken the power of the left eye, which influenced both the alternate universe and Bayonetta's reality. When Bayonetta comes back to her timeline after escorting Cereza home, she discovers the effect of this altered reality on her universe. Since Cereza awakened the left eye, it effectively completes Balder's plans of uniting both the eyes of the world. He traps the witch in Ithavoll building, which turns into a rocket ship flying to Paradiso to resurrect Jubileus the Creator. Back on Earth, Jean awakens. Yep, she didn't die after her fight with Bayonetta, and she is no longer under the control of Balder, who forced her to chase his daughter. She comes to Bayonetta's rescue, pulling her out of Jubileus's eye. The two Umbra witches combine their powers to summon Queen Sheba, the ruler of Inferno. The massive demoness throws a massive punch that sends Jubileus flying into the sun, effectively destroying this powerful entity. Bayonetta and Jean, friends once again, come back to Earth, and that marks the end of the first Bayonetta game. The witch is back in 2014 with the release of Bayonetta 2. This new game takes place a few months after the defeat of Jubileus, as Bayonetta and Enzo are shopping for Christmas presents. Their shopping spree is cut short by Jean, who comes to Bayonetta to warn her that the energies of both Paradiso and Inferno are acting strange since they messed up the timelines and created an alternate reality with the young Cereza. As they chit-chat about everything going wrong with the realms, angels attack the trio. Bayonetta and Jean combine their powers to summon a powerful infernal demon, Gamora, also known as the Devourer of the Divine. Things don't go as planned, and the two Umbra witches lose control of the demon, who wipes out the army of angels but also claims Jean's soul, killing her body and taking her spirit into the depths of Inferno. Bayonetta and Enzo are sent on a quest to save Jean's soul and decide to travel to Fimbulventr, a sacred mountain said to be the only place on Earth connecting the world of humans to both Paradiso and Inferno. While this mountain is supposed to house the gates of hell, not Rodin's bar, the literal gates of hell, Enzo warns Bayonetta that no human ever found its access. The duo arrives at Noatun, a town sitting at the base of Fimbulventr. Bayonetta meets a boy named Loki, who is also trying to reach the sacred mountain, even though he doesn't remember why. Angels are preventing the boy from accessing Fimbulventr, with a mysterious masked Lumen Sage regularly attacking him. Loki joins Bayonetta's crew so they can both access Fimbulventr, explaining to the witch that she will need his powers to get inside the sacred mountain. Luca, the boy who hated Bayonetta for killing his father but then realized Balder was the real bad guy, joins them at Noatun. He's now on Bayonetta's side as he realized the poor witch had nothing to do with his father's passing. He sets up in the village and offers to share any information he can get on Fimbulventer and how to access Inferno. Bayonetta and Loki eventually reach the gates of hell, but they're stopped by the masked Lumen and a mysterious being called Loptir, who seems to know Loki pretty well. Bayonetta and Loki escape through the gates and end up in Inferno, where they reunite with Jean. As Bayonetta catches up with Jean, who warns her something big is going to happen to the world, Loki is assaulted once more by the masked Lumen, who reveals himself to be a younger Baldur, Bayonetta's father and the bad guy from the first game. Bayonetta doesn't have much time to be shocked by this revelation, as Loki loses control of his powers and sends the Umbra Witch and her dad 500 years in the past to Vigrid during the witch hunts. Bayonetta meets her mother Rosa, and the two fight a bunch of angels together. She encounters a younger version of Loptir who looks just like Loki. Baldur and Bayonetta discover Loptir having just killed Rosa, and Bayonetta realizes that her father has been chasing Loki because he believed that the boy was responsible for killing his lover. Bayonetta opens a portal back to the present, asking her father to come with her and seek revenge on Loptir and not Loki. Meanwhile, Loki manages to escape Inferno and reunites with Luca. He remembers who he is and why he wanted to get to Fimbulventer, but is stopped on his way to the Sacred Mountain by his evil doppelganger Loptir. Bayonetta, Baldur, and Jean reach the top of Fimbulventer only to see Loptir having taken hold of Loki. Loptir explains that he and Loki are two parts of the same soul and that together they used to be the god of chaos, Aesir. If you remember the first part of this video, Aesir was the ruler of the human realm and the one responsible for the creation of the eyes of the world that gave humans free will. Aesir split his soul into two parts, Loki being the good half and Loptir the evil one. To gain full control over Aesir's powers, Loptir wanted to get the eyes of the world back together. He's the one who summoned a younger version of Baldur to help him on his quest, as his older counterpart died during the confrontation with Jubileus the Creator. Loptir steals the eyes of the world from Bayonetta and Baldur, gaining full control of his past powers and turning into Aesir, the god of chaos himself. As he claims to be the one and only ruler of the realm of chaos, Aesir is cut short by Loki, who remembers that he has the power to erase anything from the world, and uses this ability to destroy the eyes of the world, weakening Aesir. Bayonetta and Baldur summon a fusion between Jubileus and Queen Sheba that is strong enough to separate Aesir's body from his soul. They destroy the god of chaos's physical body as Loptir's soul tries to escape to be reborn elsewhere. Baldur intervenes and absorbs his soul. Loki warns Baldur that Loptir's soul will eventually corrupt him, but Baldur sacrifices himself. He asks his daughter to be the one to stop him should he become corrupted by Loptir's influence. Baldur returns to his time, leading to the events of the original Bayonetta game, as Loptir's corruption led him to seek the eyes of the world and resurrect Jubileus. It turns out Baldur wasn't really a bad guy after all, but was simply under the corruption of a really evil spirit. With Aesir defeated and the eyes of the world destroyed, Loki's goal is complete and he begins to fade away. He tells Bayonetta they may meet again when he's reborn in the future, but that he wants to take a little break from humanity before that. The story of Bayonetta 2 ends a few days later as the titular witch and her best friend Jean are doing some post-holiday shopping and fighting against angels once again. This timeline's been pretty easy to follow so far, right? Enter Bayonetta 3 and the multiverse of Umbra Witches. In an alternate universe, a version of Bayonetta looking just like the titular witch from the first Bayonetta game is fighting against Singularity, a powerful artificial human able to control the fabric of reality itself and bend it to its will. As Bayonetta's losing the fight, a young woman named Viola wants to come help her, but is stopped by Connor Sigurd, a soldier leading the resistance against Singularity. He gives the girl a mysterious relic, stating that this is their last world bridge. As Bayonetta is defeated, she transfers the last of her magic into Viola, who barely escapes thanks to the relic. Meanwhile, in Bayonetta's main universe, the titular witch asks Enzo to drive her to a cruise ship as she needs to meet someone. Little did she know that the person she needed to meet wasn't on this ship or even in this universe. An unconscious Viola falls out of the sky and then crashes into Enzo's car, barely waking up long enough to ask him to take her to Bayonetta. Shortly after, the sky fills with dark clouds, a tsunami rises from the water, and mysterious creatures attack Bayonetta. These creatures don't seem to come from Paradiso, which is a nice change of pace since it's usually angels attacking Bayonetta and her friends. Bayonetta, Enzo, Viola, and Jean regroup in Rodin's bar, the Gates of Hell. Viola explains what happened in her universe and reveals that the monsters they faced were homunculi, synthetic bioweapons under the control of Singularity, whose goal is to collapse all universes into a single one called Alphaverse. Should he succeed, that would destroy the entire trinity of realities and everyone within it. Viola asks Bayonetta to help her find 4 relics she calls Chaos Gears, while Jean is tasked to track down Sigurd as he's the only one who knows how to use them to stop Singularity. Bayonetta and Viola travel to Thule, a secret island where the Umbra Witches and Lumen Sages used to study the multiverse ages ago. They stumble upon Luca, who is weirdly always on the witch's way. Bayonetta finds and activates a portal taking her to a realm called Ginnungagap, a kind of bridge between the different universes and alternate realities. She reaches various universes to help her alternate counterparts fight against the homunculi and retrieve the Chaos Gears. Singularity manages to defeat all of the alternate alternate Bayonettas. Viola reveals that she's a daughter of a Bayonetta from another universe who had also died at the hands of Singularity. That's why she reached the Umbra Witch, to save the alternate versions of her mother and get her revenge on Singularity. Oh, and guess who the father is? Luca, the one that blamed Bayonetta for the death of his father before understanding that it wasn't her fault. Speaking of Luca, he finally gets a bigger role than just stalking Bayonetta and randomly appearing to help. The destruction of his alternate versions unleashes some hidden power within him, unlocking his long-suppressed fairy lineage. He turns into a wolf-like beast called Strider, corrupted by Dark Adam, an alternate version of Luca from the Alphaverse who lost his mind to thirst for revenge after his body was destroyed by Singularity. Luca is saved by another one of his alternate versions, Lucon, the leader of the fairies, who grants Luca control over his Strider form to help Bayonetta on her mission to stop Singularity. Meanwhile, Bayonetta and Viola manage to gather all the Chaos Gears, and Jean successfully tracks down Sigurd, a scientist who dedicated his life to researching the multiverses and can help put an end to Singularity's madness. Using the Chaos Gear, Sigurd opens a portal to the Alphaverse, allowing Bayonetta and her team to face Singularity. They discover that Singularity's true identity was the Alphaverse's Sigurd, a artificial human who wanted to take control over the multiverse. Unfortunately, the fight against Singularity doesn't go as planned, and the villain defeats the Umbra Witch. In a last-minute clutch, the Bayonettas from the 2 previous games come to the rescue, and the 3 Bayonettas team up to defeat Singularity. They win this fight and restore the multiverse, but Bayonetta is mortally wounded. As she's about to die, Luca confesses his love for her, and the couple is dragged into Inferno together. In Bayonetta 3's post-credit scenes, Viola inherits the iconic glasses from her mother and becomes the new titular Bayonetta. That concludes the story of Bayonetta so far. While the titular witch seems to be gone for good, who knows what the multiverses could bring for a future entry in the series. Viola's adventures are just getting started, and previous Bayonetta games proved that no one is truly dead for good in this universe. Which character from Bayonetta is your favorite? Let us know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the leaderboard for more timelines of your favorite games.